Hey guys, it's Shay of Black Queen Photography. If this is your first time here, welcome to my channel, and if you've been here before, welcome back. So Kodak just dropped a brand new $99 film camera, and honestly, I think this might be the starter film camera for 2026. This is the Kodak Snapic A1, a full-frame 35mm film camera made in partnership with Retro Production. If the name sounds familiar, they're part of the same team behind the super popular Kodak Ektar H35 half-frame camera and the consistently sold out Kodak Charmera. Alright, let's start with what you actually get for $99. You get the Kodak Snapic A1, a camera strap, a protective pouch, and the usual user manuals. Size-wise, the Snapic is about 4.65 inches wide by 2.44 inches tall and 1.38 inches deep. Here it is next to the Pentax 17 half-frame camera. They're pretty similar in size, right? The Snapic weighs about 117 grams, so it's super light. It's made of a hard plastic, which honestly doesn't feel that cheap in the hand. The camera design is pretty simple. On the front, you've got the optical viewfinder, the flash, the 3-element glass lens, and a zone focus toggle. On the left side, there's a camera strap hook, and up top, you've got the shutter button, an OLED screen that shows you things like the number of shots you've taken, flash status, battery life, and a few other basics. I actually really like that they include this little OLED screen. It gives you just enough info without overwhelming you, which is perfect for beginners who might feel intimidated by film cameras. There's also an on and off switch and a multiple exposure toggle for double exposure. That's it. It's pretty straightforward. I know some more experienced film photographers may not like the simple design and lack of dials with this camera. However, I'm not mad about it. This is clearly a beginner-friendly full-frame 35mm camera. I think if the design was too complicated, it might scare newbies off. And yeah, I love Kodak to create a fully manual, metal body, full frame 35mm camera like the older film cameras, but that would one, probably push away film photography beginners for being too complex, and two, probably price a lot of people out of getting it. So I understand the design choice. Alright, let's talk some specs. The Snapic has a 3-element 25mm glass lens, which should give you sharp images. Now, the 25mm focal length is interesting. A 50mm lens is closer to how the human eye sees, so this camera basically sees twice as wide. That's not a bad thing, but I'm guessing Kodak and Retro aren't expecting you to take a lot of selfies with this camera. The lens has a fixed aperture of f9.5. Translation, you're probably not getting much bokeh, aka that dreamy, blurry background effect that you see in some portraits due to the f-stop. It's got two manual zone focus areas, 0.5 to 1.5 meters for things like close-up portraits and selfies, but again, I'm not sure how many selfies you're going to shoot with this camera, and then 1.5 meters to infinity for things like street photography and landscape. The zone focus keeps it real simple, but I definitely want to test out how forgiving it is in real-world situations. Stay tuned for a future video where I take this camera for a spin. There's a built-in flash with red eye reduction that you can set to auto, on, or off. Red eye reduction can be super helpful for portraits and group shots. It's also got a multiple exposure mode or an ME mode, but it only does double exposures, not triple or more. Okay, here's the thing that's already bugging me. This camera requires two AAA batteries, which are not included in the box. Kodak, come here for a second. It's 2025. If you're gonna make a camera that requires batteries, throw at least one set in the box. It's not a deal breaker for me that it's not included, but it is annoying. So if you're planning to get this camera, make sure you grab some AAA batteries so you can actually use it when you unbox it. On the bright side, our first set of batteries will shoot about 10 rolls of 24 exposure film. That's roughly 240 photos, or about 6.5 rolls of 36 exposure film. That number will vary depending on how much you use the flash and various settings. Tip, if you're planning to shoot a lot, consider grabbing some rechargeable AAA batteries. Constantly buying disposable batteries can get expensive fast, and it adds a lot of waste. Alright, let's talk about what makes this camera great. The magic auto features. It has auto loading, which automatically loads your film roll so you can start shooting right away without fumbling trying to load the film. Loading film can honestly be one of the hardest parts of shooting film when you're new. If it's not done right, your roll won't advance properly and your photos won't turn out. So having auto load takes a huge stressor off the table. Now, if you are going to get serious about film photography, I do think you should eventually learn how to manually load film, but for starting out, you don't need that stress in your life. Auto forward, which moves to the next frame after each shot without having to remember to use a film advance lever. I personally would prefer a manual film advance. That's one of my favorite parts of shooting film, physically winding the film to the next frame. Again, that's not a deal breaker for me, but it would have been a fun touch. And finally, auto rewind, which automatically rewinds your film back into the canister when you're done shooting. I don't mind the auto rewind feature either, especially for beginners. Nothing's more heartbreaking than shooting a whole roll of film and then accidentally exposing some of it to light because you didn't rewind it properly and you opened the film door before the film was back in the canister. So, who do I think this camera is for? If you haven't figured it out already, this is 100% a beginner film camera. I think this is a really solid starter option if you want to try film without jumping straight into the deep end with a super complex camera and you don't want to break the bank. You don't have to worry about loading or rewinding film, nailing focus, as long as you pick the right zone, or messing with the exposure triangle, the shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO. You still get some creative control. You can decide whether or not to use a flash and play with double exposure, but the camera takes care of most of the technical stuff so you can focus on composition and storytelling. And the price point makes it really attractive. At $99, it's way more accessible than some of the newer film cameras out there. I'm looking at you Pentax 17 and the Rollei 35AF. Even if you're not a total beginner, but you're looking for a relatively inexpensive and newer point and shoot film camera, I think you might enjoy this one. So, that's my first look at the Kodak Snapic A1. I've shot a roll of film already, so stay tuned for a review on the quality of the photos. Also, let me know if you want me to do a full breakdown of everything related to this camera, like I did with the Instax Wide Evo. If this video helped you learn something new, tap the like button so more film curious creators can find out. And subscribe if you want more honest gear reviews and beginner friendly photography tips. Until next time, keep practicing, keep having fun, and I'll see you in the next video.